And a widowed mechanic saves a woman after an accident and discovers she's a millionaire. What happens when a mechanic saves from an accident a woman with no memory who only remembers her name, Valentina, when the doctors they threaten to send her to a mental hospital and he takes responsibility for the stranger? Mastery of how a simple widower with a 7-year-old daughter offers shelter to a woman who has lost her memory without suspecting that she is the heir of a billion-dollar empire. But what happens when her influential father finds his daughter and demands her return home, threatening to destroy the mechanic's life? Before starting the story, write in the comments which one part of the world you are watching us today. Rain drummed on the pickup's windshield, turning the evening road into a blur of headlights, yellow and red lights. Mateo Herrera was taking his 7-year-old daughter home. Years, Sophia, from school, as she did every day for the last 3 years, since his wife Carmen had died of cancer. "Dad, why is it raining so hard?" he asked Sophia, pressing her nose against the glass. "Nature washes itself, princess," she replied. Mateo slowed down in front of a curve. Just at that moment, he saw what he had made my heart stop. A black sedan had left the road and crashed into a tree. The car was smoking, the front end was crumpled, and a motionless figure could be seen behind the wheel. "Sophia, stay in the car," Mateo said abruptly, turning on his hazard lights and stopping at the edge of the road. "What happened?" "An accident. Absolutely do not go out." Mateo jumped out into the rain and ran toward the wrecked car. The door was stuck, but his mechanic's hands solved the problem in seconds. Behind the wheel was a young woman in her 30s, with dark hair and a pretty face covered in blood. She was unconscious. "Madam," he called, touching her gently on the shoulder. "Can you hear me?" No response. Mateo checked the pulse, weak but present. The car smelled of gasoline, and he realized that he had to act quickly. As he carefully extracted her from the cockpit twisted, he noticed that she was wearing an expensive dress and jewelry, clearly not cheap, but there were no documents in the car or bag. "Dad, is she alive?" Sophia asked frightenedly when her father carried the stranger to the pickup. "She's alive, but she needs help." "I'll call the ambulance." "Who is it? We don't know yet." After 20 minutes at the hospital Santa Teresa, Dr. Ramirez was examining the wound. Concussion of medium severity, he communicated to Mateo. In addition, rather serious amnesia. He is woke up, yes, but she remembers almost nothing. Only the name Valentina. He doesn't know her surname or where she came from, nor her address, telephone numbers, relatives, nothing. And the car? Maybe there are clues. The police are checking, but the license plates were fake and there were no documents in the passenger compartment. Mateo looked into the room where he was lying. Valentina was conscious, but her eyes showed confusion and fear. "How do you feel?" he asked her. "Strange," she replied in a weak voice, "as if two woke up in someone else's life and she saved me. I was just there by chance. Thank you, my name is Valentina, and then the void. Memory and he'll come back. Doctors say it happens after accidents. And what will happen to me? I have no documents or anything. Money? I don't know where I live." Dr. Ramirez took Mateo into the corridor. "There is a problem. He has no insurance and the treatment is expensive. If within 24 hours no one will show up, we'll have to transfer her to the State Psychiatric Center. Psychiatric because it's protocol. A person without documents and with memory loss is considered potentially dangerous for the society. But she's not crazy, I know, but these are the rules." Mateo returned in the room where Valentina was crying softly. "What happened?" he asked her. "The nurse said they might send me to a mental hospital. I'm scared." "Listen." Mateo sat on the edge of the bed. "And if I took on the responsibility for her? What does that mean?" "Formally, I would become her guardian until the documents are recovered or he returns to his memory." Valentina looked at him in surprise. "But don't you know me? Why do you want to help me?" "Because no one should end up in a mental hospital, just because he lost his memory and because he hesitated. My wife, before she died, asked me to help people in difficulty. He had a wife. Yes, she died 3 years ago. I have my daughter Sophia left. And what? Will he say if a stranger comes to live in your house?" "We'll ask him." Sophia was in the living room, waiting and drawing in a notebook. Princess called her Mateo. "We have Toto speak. This lady Valentina has lost her memory. She has no home. What do you think he'd live with us for a while?" Sophia looked at her father with serious eyes. "It's kind, It seems so. Can he cook? I don't know. And read fairy tales? Not even I know this. So let's ask her. When they returned to the room, Sophia he timidly approached the bed. Aunt Valentina, can you make pancakes? I don't know, I know, she answered honestly. I don't remember. And do you like pancakes? So much. Mom made them with jam. And where is Mom? In heaven, she had cancer. Valentina took the little girl's hand. I'm sorry. She was probably a good mother. The best. And you want me to try Toby like Mom? Sophia got confused. Matteo said softly, It's no use. I want it, Valentina. If you can, then let's go home. The little girl cheered up. I'll make you. They saw my room and the dolls. After an hour, they left the hospital. Valentina, he sat next to Matteo in the old pickup and looked out the window at the unknown city. And how will you introduce to the neighbors? He asked. Like a guest, a temporary guest? And if the memory doesn't return, it will return. It will definitely return. But deep down, Matteo doesn't know. He was certain, and something else worried him even more. He felt for that woman. Mysterious something he had not heard for 3 years since the death of Carmen. Matteo's house turned out to be small but welcoming. 2 floors, a small garden, a workshop in the garage. Here is his room! He showed Valentina the guest room. Excuse me if it's modest. It's wonderful, she said sincerely. Thank you for everything, Aunt Valentina, Sophia called. Come to dinner. During the simple pasta dinner tomato sauce, Valentina tried something familiar and warm. Not memories, but sensations, as if some time ago he had dreamed that very simple one-family happiness. And what are we doing tomorrow? Asked Sophia. Do you go to school? Matteo replied. And for now, Aunt Valentina is resting and recovering. And after that, we'll see later. But all 3 understood that those days would decide their future, and each one secretly hoped that this family born by chance could become real. The first morning in Matteo's house began. With the smell of fried eggs and coffee, Valentina woke up at 5 in the morning and couldn't take it anymore, fall asleep again. Fragments of dreams and confused images buzzed in his mind. So as not to wake the owners, she quietly went down to the kitchen and decided to prepare breakfast. Aunt Valentina, Sophia exclaimed, entering the kitchen in my pajamas. Are you up yet? I'm used to getting up early. Valentina smiled, although I don't remember why. And what are you preparing? Eggs with bacon and pancakes. Hands as if they knew what to do on their own. Matteo, he came down after a few minutes, drawn by the smell. Seeing the table set, he was surprised. He shouldn't have. I want to be helpful. You helped me. Now it's my turn. During the breakfast, Sophia chatted nonstop, telling Valentina about school, her friends, her subjects' favorites. The woman listened attentively, asked questions, and Matteo noticed how his daughter blossomed. For the first time once in 3 years, he had a female presence to talk to. Daddy, Aunt Valentina, can you take me to school? He asked, the little girl. Sophia, Aunt, has her commitments. No commitments, she objected. Valentina, she'll be happy to go for a walk. On the way to school, Sophia showed her the surroundings. They introduced himself to the neighbors, told stories about each house. Valentina listened, and he was amazed. Everything seemed new, but at the same time, somehow right. Aunt Valentina said seriously to the little girl in front of the school gate, You will go away while I am at school. Why do you think that? Mom also went to the hospital and said she would come back, but then she never came back. Returned. Valentina's heart sank. I promise you I'll be home when you come back from school. Really? After school, Valentina entered in Matteo's workshop. He was tinkering under the hood of an old sedan, and she watched his work for a while. Can I come in? He asked. Sure. How was your walk? Well, I met the neighbors. Sophia told me about every inhabitant of the neighborhood. She's sociable. After her mother's death, she had withdrawn. But with you, she came back. The one before. And how's the workshop going? Matteo came out from under the hood, drying his hands. Not very well, few customers, lots of competition. We're barely getting by. Valentina, he looked at the shop and noticed a pile of unpaid bills on the table. Can I take a look? He asked, pointing to the papers. Why do you want? Out of curiosity, studying the documents, Valentina, he frowned. Matteo, you have serious financial problems. How do you know? I don't know. The numbers seem put together by yourself in your head. See? He took a pencil and began to make notes. Are you operating at a loss? The price of the parts plus your time minus the overheads result in negative profitability. What do you suggest? Raise prices by 20% and take out a loan for new equipment. A loan. I have no collateral. The land. Valentina pointed to the land next to the workshop. If the documents are arranged correctly, you can get a loan by mortgaging the property. Matteo looked at her in surprise. How does she know about loans? And what about mortgages? I don't know, she admitted. The words just come to me. In the evening when Sophia fell asleep, they were sitting in the kitchen in front of a cup of tea. Valentina said, Matteo, I have a question, tell me. Do you really remember nothing of the past? Almost nothing. Fragments of dreams, individual words, abilities, but not a complete picture. And what does he dream about? Offices, large rooms with panoramic windows, a man in an expensive suit who calls me daughter, meetings, negotiations, and still stopped to think. Numbers. Lots of numbers and graphs. It seems he worked in business. Maybe. But it's strange. All those memories seem cold, and here with you and Sophia I feel warmth. And what did I feel there? Loneliness, as if I were living in a beautiful but empty cage. Matteo looked at her for a long time. Valentina, and what if his memory returned? What if he had a family, a job, some obligations? I don't know, she answered honestly. But I know for sure that I don't want to return to that emptiness that appears to me in dreams, and if I have to, then I will fight for it. That really matters. And what matters? She and Sophia, this kitchen where in the morning you smells like coffee. The possibility of being useful not for money or status, but simply because I am here. Matteo felt something tighten in his chest. In the 3 years that followed after his wife's death, he hadn't allowed himself to become attached to any woman. And now that mysterious unknown, who appeared so unexpectedly in his life, made his heart beat faster. Valentina said softly, I have to confess, I like you as a woman and you to me, but what am I afraid of? That when it comes back to memory, it will turn out that I am who I thought I was, who will ruin his life. And if he doesn't ruin it instead, and will he become part of it? I would like to believe so. He took her hand. Then we live only today without thinking about the past and the future. And tomorrow Sophia will go to school, I'll fix cars, and she'll make us breakfast, and she'll be wonderful. Valentina smiled. Yes, it will be wonderful. But they both understood that sooner or later the past would come back to life, and their little family happiness would have been in danger. For now, however, they enjoyed the simple joys, dinners together, evening conversations, Sophia's laughter, and every day that casual family became more and more real. Sleep. He arrived in Valentina at dawn and brought with him vivid, almost tangible images. She sat at a huge mahogany table in an office with panoramic windows. In front of her were financial reports, a voice behind her, severe, demanding. Valentina, the agreement with the Koreans is you failed because of your weakness. Business requires toughness, not sentimentality. She woke up sweating, and it took her a few minutes to figure out where she was. A modest room, the smell of coffee from the kitchen, the laughter of a little girl. Everything, it seemed like a dream compared to the cold reality that appeared to her at night. Aunt Valentina Sophia peeked into the room. Dad said not to wake her, but it's so pale. It's all right, darling. I just slept badly. You did a bad job, Dream? Not bad, just strange. At breakfast, Matteo noticed his condition. Memories are coming back. Fragments, offices, business negotiations. A man who he always demanded toughness in business. My father, perhaps, but it's strange. In dreams I feel unhappy, even though there is luxury and success. And here I am, I feel alive, real. After breakfast, Sophia went to school and Valentina decided to help Matteo in the workshop. In a month of living together, he had studied his work and understood that it could be organized much better. Matteo, he said, looking at the invoices, a customer doesn't have paid for a repair 3 months ago. It's a significant sum. Ormos has been promising to pay for 6 months. He used a lawyer. Which lawyer? I don't have the money for a lawyer. I don't need a lawyer. You can file a petition with the Peace Court yourself. I can help you with the paperwork. How do you know the procedures? Legal. I don't know, but somehow I'm sure I know. By the time they had prepared the complaint by lunchtime, Valentina had drafted it so professionally that Matteo was amazed. "You've definitely worked in business," he said. "It's at a high level. So why do I feel like an outsider there? Maybe because success without love is empty, and I had no love. I don't know. And what does your heart tell you?" Valentina, he reflected that I was alone, very alone. In the evening, when he put Sophia to bed, he read her the Cinderella's fairy tale. The little girl listened attentively. Then she asked, "Aunt Valentina, are you like Cinderella? Why? She also didn't have a mother, and she ended up in a strange house, and then she became a princess. And who is the prince in our fairy tale?" "Dad," Sophia laughed. "Of course, is he the one he saved her? And who are you?" "The good fairy. Did I make you two friends?" When the little girl fell asleep, Valentina went down to the kitchen where Matteo was tidying up the tools. "What for, do you think?" He asked. "That Sophia is right. I feel like Cinderella arrived in a real family and is afraid that at midnight everything will disappear. Very fear." Matteo approached. "Valentina, in 2 months you have become part of our life. Sophia calls her mom when she thinks I can't hear." "Really?" "Really?" And I took her hands, too. I fell in love with her. "Matteo, I know it's stupid to fall in love with a woman without a past, but at heart it doesn't. It doesn't matter if she has documents or not. And if I were married, if there was a husband waiting for me, then he is a complete idiot to have lost a woman like her. What if I had children? I would love them, too. What if I were rich and accustomed to luxury? She will learn to live simply. She has already done so." "Valentina," he looked into your eyes and said, "And I fell in love with you a month ago." "Seriously? Seriously? When I saw you reading fairy tales to Sophia, how did you react? Care of her? How do you work honestly without deceiving customers? And what should we do about this?" "I don't know, but I want to try." He kissed her softly, cautiously, as if he were afraid that she could vanish. And Valentina understood that that was the feeling that was missing in those cold dreams of the past. "Stay with me," asked Matthew. "Forever. And if the past finds us, then we will fight together." But as in response to his words, the next day a stranger in an expensive suit entered the workshop. "I'm looking for a woman," he said, showing a photograph. "She disappeared after an accident 2 months ago." Matteo looked at the image and froze. It was Valentina, except she was wearing a suit and had a cold expression on her face. "Do you know her?" he asked, unknown. "No, Matteo lied. I haven't seen her. Too bad his father is he's worried. He's willing to pay $100,000 for any information. Valentina Mendoza is the sole heir of Ricardo Mendoza's industrial empire. His disappearance threatens the collapse of the entire company." When the detective left, Matteo understood that their happy days were numbered. Sooner or later, the past would found Valentina, and then their simple love would have clashed with the world of money and power, but for the moment decided to keep quiet, to give a little more time in that paradise that they had built with their own hands. Valentina was preparing the vegetables for the evening soup when she heard the sound of expensive cars in the courtyard. Looking out the window, he saw a black limousine and 2 SUVs, escort. From the limousine stepped out an elderly man in a perfect suit, the same who appeared to her in her dreams. Matteo called him with a voice trembling with fear. Suddenly, "What's happening?" He ran out of the workshop and stopped when he saw the procession. There was a loud knock at the door. When Matteo opened it, there was a man on the threshold. A man of about 60 years old with hard eyes and an authoritative face. "Where is my daughter?" he asked coldly. "Dad!" Valentina whispered behind her Matteo's shoulders. Ricardo Mendoza pushed the mechanic away and ran to his daughter. "Valentina, thank God you're alive. I've been looking for you for 3 months. Your father's embrace brought back all the memories like a flash. Childhood in a luxurious villa, but without maternal affection. Studies in the best schools of Europe, the university completed by external. The work in the corporation family since I was 16. Endless meetings, cold business decisions, loneliness among the crowd of subordinates. I remember everything," she said, walking away. "Perfect, then get ready. The plane is waiting for us. During your absence, I almost lost the contract with the Koreans." "Wait, Dad, I have to explain something to you." "Explain?" Ricardo noticed Matteo for the first time. And who is this? Mateo Herrera saved me after the accident. He took care of me for 3 months. I understand. Ricardo took out the wallet. How much do I owe you for the services? What? Mateo was speechless. How much did you spend on my daughter's treatment and support? I'll reimburse you. I didn't do it for money. He was indignant. Mateo. Everyone does it for the money. Ricardo laughed contemptuously. Tell me the amount. Dad, enough! Valentina intervened. Mateo is not a servant to be bought. And so who is he? The father asked coldly. The man I love. Ricardo burst out laugh. Do you love him, Valentina? You've lost your memory, not your mind. What kind of love can be there for a slum mechanic? For an honest man who doesn't measure everything in money? Ricardo turned to Mateo. How much did you take from her for food, lodging, clothes? Nothing, Mateo replied. So what did you gain from it? In Ricardo's voice, I compare threatening notes. Happiness, said Mateo simply, is the one that it can't be bought with money. The father turned to his daughter. Valentina, look at you. You're dressed like a maid. You live in a shack. You wash dishes. And I was happy for the first time once in a lifetime. Happy. This delusion will pass. It's just a consequence of the trauma. At that moment, Sophia came running back from school. Dad, Aunt Valentina stopped seeing strangers. And who are they? Sophia, let me introduce you, Valentina said, hugging the little girl. This is my father, Ricardo. Your dad? He was surprised, Sophia. And why is he so angry? Because he wants to take me away to his house, and will you go? Valentina looked at Mateo, then at the little girl. I don't know. Don't you know? Ricardo blurted out. You have duties, a company, employees, partners, and I have a family, Valentina replied. What family? A stranger and his daughter. People who love me not for money. Enough nonsense. Valentina, get ready. And what if I don't want to? Well, tomorrow your little mechanic friend will lose all his customers. The bank he'll take the house because of the debts, and his daughter will end up in an orphanage. Mateo turned pale. What did you say? What I'll do if my daughter doesn't come to her senses. I have enough connections to destroy anyone's life. Dad, Valentina was horrified. You don't dare. I dare, and I will if you don't come to your senses. Sophia burst into tears. Aunt Valentina, don't go away. Did you promise to stay? Valentina picked up the little girl. Sophia, sometimes adults are forced to do what they don't want to do. But do you love us? I love you so much. Then stay. Ricardo looked at his watch impatiently. You have an hour to get ready, Valentina. Then I'll fly to Madrid with you. Or without you. But without you, this house will be sold for debt tomorrow. When she left, Valentina hugged Mateo. Forgive me. For what? For ruining your life. You didn't ruin it. You've given us 3 wonderful months. And now? Now you'll go back to your world and we will stay in ours. I don't want to go back, but you must. Otherwise, Sophia will suffer. The little girl sobbed in Valentina's arms. And can I come with you? You can't, darling. Here you have your house, your school, friends. And you? I have a job I hate and a father who doesn't understand what it is. Love. So run away where they won't find you? Valentina smiled bitterly. You can't escape from people like my father. They find you everywhere. An hour later, he was standing near the car with a small suitcase. Sophia was crying. Mateo was clenching his fists, trying to hold back. I won't forget you, Valentina promised. Never, and we won't forget you, Mateo replied. And perhaps, Sophia sobbed. Will you come back again? Perhaps, Valentina lied. When the limousine disappeared around the corner, Mateo picked up his daughter. Everything will be fine, Princess, really? But he himself didn't believe it, and didn't know that Valentina had already devised a plan. Ricardo Mendoza was sitting in his office signing documents about his daughter's return to business when Valentina entered with a gloomy face. Decided. Dad, what do I have to talk to you about, my daughter? About a compromise. I'm staying in the family business, but on my terms. What terms? I'm opening a small business consulting agency. I'll help entrepreneurs like Mateo. Ricardo frowned. And what do I get out of it? You'll keep your daughter and find a profitable sector to invest in, and your mechanic. He will become my husband if he accepts. Valentina, think about your reputation. On the contrary, this will add points to the Mendoza family, a rich heiress who marries for love. The next day, Valentina arrived at Mateo's house. Sophia was playing in the courtyard and shouted with joy, Aunt Valentina, you're back forever, if Dad isn't against it. Mateo left the workshop. How? Why? Because I understood that home is where there is love and your father accepted a compromise. I'm opening my own agency and taking your workshop as my first client. I don't want handouts, it's an honest partnership. I get the money, you get the expertise, profits cut in half. Sophia ran to them. Dad, accept, or Aunt Valentina, he's offended. I'm not offended, Valentina smiled. But I'm not backing down. Mateo hugged her. Welcome home, Valentina, Herrera. Mendoza for now, but soon I'll be Herrera. A year later, their wedding was an event not for luxury, but for sincerity. Ricardo, for the first time after many years, he smiled while playing with his grandchildren. The Mendoza-Herrera agency had helped hundreds of family businesses, and Mateo's workshop had transformed into a large car service. Valentina finally understood who he was, not just an heiress, but a loving wife and mother, and that was true more than any billion. No,